Hi, and welcome to the personal side of business, where every business has a story. Today, my guest is Sara Nicholson. She's a human resource advisor with the SBDC here in San Diego. Welcome to the podcast, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Hey, welcome. So tell us, how did we get here?
How did we get to HR? HR never was actually on my radar. I got my degree in accounting once upon a time at UH, and that evolved into a career in the hospitality industry. That was over in Hawaii, and I had a wonderful career with Marriott International. And then came time to shift gears and come back to the mainland, and was able to then work in HR and in various positions with healthcare industries and private industries, construction, and so on and so forth.
What was it that you picked up from being in a corporate setting that you think carried over to you being a good advisor in human resources?
The clarity of the rules. It wasn't about we're going to micromanage any part of our population with this stuff, but here's labor law guidance and common sense, and then also thinking about the human, and let's put it all together. And it was really attractive. It was really easy to jump on board with that.
I guess I always think of it when you start out a career in a corporate setting, you get to see what's really right first before getting to gray areas. I think if you were just started out as a business or an entrepreneur on your own and decided to get in, like, I'm going to start doing some HR, like, I'm not sure if this is right or wrong.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm super grateful for being able to get in the ground level at the hotel where I worked. By the way, a plug to Renaissance Wailea Beach Resort is now an Andaz property, and my son works there in engineering, so very excited. It's a full circle moment. But what really was appealing to me was the human side of the HR department. I got to be the first person they saw. They saw my bowl of candy, and they stopped there. And that's when the conversations started. And then it was like, now I know how I can help direct this person, even though I didn't have the authority to speak on behalf of my colleagues and the directors. But it was that fine-tuning moment, that really precise moment of the human connection with candy.
Now, I'm guessing that having a human resources department or person can help buffer you as an entrepreneur to deal with some things that you don't want to deal with, right?
Well, some of it's a buffer, but I am a strong advocate and proponent for the collaboration. HR in business is the oil in the engine. And a lot of people don't have that perception. They see HR now as like, oh, they're always telling me what to do. This is a partnership. This is a must because we're in California and we have the fine people in Sacramento that have created an abundance of things for us to pay attention to. But the reason why these laws exist is because a lot of people have been taken advantage of in different ways. So now we have this wealth of information that we have to know. It's completely intimidating. And so HR is, that's your guardian of the gate. This is helping you do your business correctly and safely and, learning how to hire people correctly, maintain. And if they got to go, how do we separate employees the right way?
Yeah, I would think from an entrepreneur standpoint, it just takes so much of the mental stress out of it and probably emotional stress too, right? You have to deal with something that you're just go, well, we're just going by the book. This is what we need to do. And I'm sorry, but you're not.
Sure. Well, and then to give a segue, a lot of the work that I do at the SBDC, I'd say like 99.9% is talking about HR foundation, what you need to have before you even start hiring people, even thinking about this. And I don't advise a particular company to work with. This is information that you need to know. But a lot of entrepreneurs are starting to work with temp agencies, for example, because they just don't want to deal with it at all. So a temp agency as the employer of record. So that creates, a separateness between you and the employee because you're not even really understanding the rules. So for those people who choose to be the employer, let me encourage you and empower you and educate you so you can feel a lot more comfortable doing this stuff.
And when you're referring to a foundational piece of the business before you go to HR? What could you give an example?
Oh, where do I begin? Okay, so first we start with your business entity. And I know that you and I have talked about how are these people set up. You know, you want to protect yourself in business. So how are you set up? Do you have all the right licensing to do this kind of work? You know, it depends on your industry. There's different hurdles to go through there. And then, of course, at least general liability insurance. And some people may want errors and omission. So you have that. And then you have your EIN. Okay, so that doesn't sound like HR, but that's the foundation for HR to continue. Getting your state employer ID number, getting your workers' compensation, selecting a payroll company, and the timekeeping, and how do I even classify employees? Who are the people that I want to hire? And then we talk about workplace safety as well. There's quite a few things on my checklist to do before you even hire a human.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm assuming when someone gets into a position, especially an entrepreneur, that the ground is flying beneath them at 100 miles per hour. They're just like, I need to hire someone. And these
Yesterday. Oh, yeah. The panic in the eye, the deer in the headlights kind of look is absolute. And that's a really good, important segue because a lot of folks are still under the impression they can hire independent contractors and boom, that's it. And I'm going to ask them to pump the brakes and not hit the deer because we had the laws change about 5 years ago. And then there were some amendments to who is exempt from AB 5. So anyone who is very casual with I'll just hire independent contractors, please consult an employment attorney before you do anything, because that willful, or maybe not willful, but being careless with classifying who people are, that could set you up for lawsuits. So I don't want to use those scary words, but that's the truth. That's the truth.
being set up, I think, especially in a state like California, where there's a lot of, it can get confusing and there's a lot of information.
Completely confusing. Yeah, completely confusing. And so that's why I, like with the SBDC, I've had to split out these different elements. I call them an HR boot camp. The first one is preparing your business for employees, like that checklist I spoke about. I'll take an hour and a half to go over these things. And so they understand what their musts do and the best business practices, what you must consider, absolutely. The next one is do's and don'ts of hiring. Oh, I love that one because it's convincing people that, job descriptions are so important. And getting them to walk, why is that important? And how is that going to follow the employee the whole length of their time with your business? And then we also work on behavioral interviewing. For example, Jet, could you describe a time that you were asked to do something by the president of a company that your direct supervisor told you not to do?
Well, I don't know if I can think.
I know, but that's kind of a heavy thing.
Yeah,
But when you do behavioral interviewing and practice that, by the way, I ask people to construct those questions based on a job description. So instead of saying, "Do you know how to make pizza?" it's describe your process to make a pizza. See?
Yeah.
Or like an ice cream sundae, because you want to know how they think, how they behave.
Now, does that change, do you think, for, I don't know, I want to say like different demographics of people? So if you're dealing with a millennial, a Gen Z, Gen X, like is there any of that goes into how you question and how you interview?
No, because this is what the position is. And, if anybody, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, holy cow, you guys are like so on task with researching. Like there is a bottomless pit of information on how to participate in an interview and how to even turn the table on the person that's interviewing you. So there's a lot of information and education. So if it's not about them, the different generations, I can't say younger, but I will. Okay, younger. There we go. Sorry, Gen X here. Not sorry. But the thing is, don't assume the person, even though they're a different generation than you, that they know less. They are very savvy, they're very empowered, and they're fearless.
Yeah.
and they want to work. That's why they're interviewing with you.
Yeah, I think about this. I haven't really had a major interview in probably 10, 12 years.
Don't worry, I won't do any more surprise questions on you.
But one of the things that was happening, I remember I went into Indeed
Yes.
and looked up what other people have gone through interviews and what they said. These were questions, and this was the
Yes.
and I'm guessing now in 2025, that's probably all over the internet, and it's such an advantage. Where I'm thinking when you and I were going to interviews when in our 20s, we were just like, I don't know what they're going to ask, but now a lot of corporations are going through the same questions, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't even have a favorite interview question. A lot of people that I see like on Instagram, there are amazing business educators, helping people who are trying to find jobs. This is how you do it. This is how you level up. If you find someone that, speaks to you, learn from them, right? If you're an employer, but I also employee, and I tell my employers to also look for them and learn. Yeah.
What is a myth? Let's go into these HR myths and what people think is right and wrong. Could you think of a major HR myth that people think is correct or incorrect?
A myth? A myth is that all the HR people are evil. There is even a really wonderful woman out there that she's called herself the evil HR lady, and she's playing on the perception. And, what is this about evil? No, it's not evil. We're the guardians of the gate. This is really important information that we're trying to protect a business, sometimes help, protect employees from themselves. But it's not, it's boundaries. HR is about boundaries with humanity. There is black and white, and unfortunately, there's a lot of gray area too. So, one of the myths, HR being evil. No, we have so much to do. So we were talking about entrepreneurs, right? So if they hire an HR person, that is basically an HR department of one. And so now that one person is in charge of everything from all the levels of wage and hour compliance for that particular state, and then paying attention to all the things that the entrepreneur isn't in terms of the legal part of the employee's life. It's a huge amount of responsibility. And so businesses that don't even engage in HR and you don't do HR, I don't recommend that tact. HR is your partner, not the evil person telling you no. And by the way, like you and I may have discussed in the past too, is every business deserves to have a no person. I think HR is that devil's advocate, if you would.
Because in an ideal world, that HR person should be representing both the business and protecting the employees.
Well, it's not necessarily protecting okay. There is a phrase in HR. It's also in the legal world. It depends. And so this is something else about an HR person. A really good one is going to be a chameleon. They're going to be able to see all the different sides and elements of what is happening. And, the training element to people who are running the business, making sure that they're savvy on things, will make the employee's life so much easier. This is a rabbit hole topic. Absolutely.
Do you think AI is going to affect HR heavily in the next upcoming years?
There's been so much conversation about it, and I think there's a lot of practical uses when it comes to documentation and training materials and the like. And I've done some training. The specific topic is, how much does an employee cost you? And the client very happily said, oh, I know that answer. And I said, okay, well, what is the answer? She said, well, AI told me it's 15%. I said, that's really nice, but that's not really correct. We're going to go higher than that. And so she was a little dismayed that she had that information wrong. I said, but we're on the right track. So this is what it is. And the information that I educate is actually directly from the Small Business Administration. Yeah. And so it starts at 25% and it goes up from there depending on what you do.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the scariest things right now is when AI is being used,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say correctly, because I think everyone feels like it's correct for them. But when it's used and it checks out, matches what's really true, it can help a business tremendously. But then if AI is just sort of making the hallucination of it, like, this is what I think it is.
Right, right. So it's learning from what information is out there. So if there's bad information out there or incomplete information, how good is it? So I'm sorry, AI fans, but I have used it absolutely in conjunction to developing training. It's like I know what the topic is, and this is what's important. It's not going to replace what you know. It's only going to accentuate what you know and help you organize this information. That's where it's really, really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those entrepreneurs that are on a budget, what do you advise for them to attract good employees?
Number one, have your act together. You have to know what you're doing. It's not just being passionate about your business, but understanding the whole life cycle of, how do I hire a person? How do I create the right kind of foundation for them? It's also understanding that we can be friendly at work and not friends, and that's something that has always been a backfire for a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs. Way too many close connections, enmeshment, and things. So being a solid person is number one. Being a kind, fair, direct, honest person. Setting up your foundation in all the different areas so you can speak with authority on it. There's nothing more dismaying when you're in an interview and you ask your boss, well, what kind of benefits are there? And it's like, well, let me get back to you on that one. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to make a phone call. Wait, hold on. And then they keep writing notes. The more organized and in touch with the business and what you have to do is setting a really good tone. And that's all it does is takes your time to learn it.
Yeah, and I would think if you were a small business of, it could just be one couple people, that over time, if you were to have a good culture in your business place, you can attract those people from the corporations that, you're fighting with to get that one person.
Right. And so this goes to when I talk about the do's and don'ts of hiring, what kind of person are you trying to attract? By the way, a job ad and a job description are two different animals. Job ad is literally the huzzah, look at us kind of thing. So a creative and compliant job ad to attract the people who really want to work with a small business. They want to have that closer environment. They want the ability to, work at home sometimes or come into the shop sometimes. So you have to know who those people are and then organize your whole hiring platform around finding them. Yeah.
And you think it's, in your personal opinion, do you think it's become easier or harder in 2025 to find those people?
I'm thinking about that one. I've gotten both sides, so for people that don't have themselves organized, find a bigger struggle. Mindset is huge also, that if you feel negative about HR, it's going to filter through your hiring process. I mean, I've even had people tell me, I don't know why I'm doing this during an interview. And it's like, no. Okay, we're going to try that again.
Is does the confidence in that person just go by the wayside at that point? You're like, whoa.
Done. Yeah. If that's the kind of interaction you're having as an employee, as a person interviewing for a job, please do the reverse. Absolutely.
But that's always tough, right? I think as a younger person going in there, because I would think someone coming out of college, I'm trying to think back when I came to college, you're just wanting to make money and you're like, I want to survive. And now you're just like, am not getting the responses back from employers that I thought. So I'm just here for the sake of making a buck.
And that was true 30, 40, 50 years ago and is still true today. And I don't know who's selling folks on you're going to land your dream job right away. I don't know who's selling them that idea. That's not fair. And yeah, so when you approach it as a college graduate, everywhere you go, you are going to learn, and then move on, But you have to be honest with yourself about that. Maybe I want a position in marketing and they stuck me in the mailroom. That's okay. Guess what I used to do when I TT'd over at the hotel? I ran the mailroom. I also learned how to be the general cashier for the hotel. I did accounts payable. I did accounts receivable. I did every single job that I could in my area. Oh, I also did payroll before I got into HR. And so doing all these things that aren't necessarily your goal, this is what you find out about yourself. Everything is a wonderful opportunity.
And it probably made you a better HR person to have all those tools in your belt, right? You understood each department before you got there.
Absolutely. And learning how to listen, learning how to take direction. And by the way, I'm going to give huge props to anybody who starts their working career at flipping burgers, doing the cashiering work. The human interaction is great. We do know in California we have this really high base wage for fast food workers, and that a lot of people have been replaced by, kiosks and whatnot. But if you can spend time learning these processes and policies and procedures from corporate burger flipping places or something that you can, stand by if you don't want to work there, it's great. I love it. And another thing that I really love when I look at resumes, the people who don't have any work experience yet, but maybe they're an athlete at their high school or junior college, and that makes a big difference to me because I know right away that they knew how to be part of a team, that they had to take direction, and they were all working towards a goal, and that's what we do at work.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too, right? And I've been told that in some corporate interviews when I was younger that they always like people who are involved with athletics from before because you understand that dynamic. To those people that, let's say they just never got into some sort of team atmosphere, do you think there are any tools that they can look at either online or reach out to that can help them understand how to work well in a workplace?
You mentioned it earlier, and I don't know 100% of everything available through Indeed, but they have a wonderful set of training and guidance for both employers and employees. Brush up on your interview skills. What are employers looking for? That kind of thing. And you don't have to be an athlete to get a job. You can be volunteering at your house of worship, for example. You could be the kid that helps the little old lady next door. So when you're first starting out, and this is to the point of businesses having really good questions to find out how people behave. And that will give them an indicator of how they will be on the job.
Yeah, and I think trying to be able to function as an employee in a workplace is so crucial on so many levels, right? Because one, it builds a culture for other people. If you get a good team together that's able to function together, work together, and even if they get along through personal issues, it's a great place. But I think the other aspect is also to be able to uplift the business in a sense without really knowing. I think a lot of people come in, they're not that interaction with a customer plays such a crucial part in that business being known in the community for being nice, well served. They can go out there, you can talk to the person, and you're actually helping that business to grow at the same time.
Absolutely. And so this is why when I suggest to people, you're applying to ABC Manufacturing. Look at their website. What are they all about? Do they have a mission and vision statement? Do they have something that they stand for? Are they community involved? do how you feel on the inside match who they are on paper at least? And so, yeah, maybe you're not going to get that first desk job that you want or whatever, but to be a part of that organization. So culture, you mentioned it earlier, and it's so important to, culture is more than just the things that you do to make people happy. By the way, that's a lie. You cannot make anyone happy. You can provide an atmosphere for people to flourish and learn and train and grow. So with the beginning of your hiring process, you're letting people know who you are, and everyone that you bring into it, they understand, and they this is not a cult. This is it's not that at all. Sorry, I just finished watching the last episode of Wednesday, and we're talking. They had a cult thing connected to it. But to be passionate about why you're doing what you're doing and having the right people on your team, then the culture keeps growing.
Yeah, there was this workshop that I had taken in one of the SBDC conferences. I think it was the one in San Diego a few years ago, and they were an incubator for startup restaurants, right? So
I know that one. Yeah,
did you
I was
remember?
there.
And they were, one of the things that they had talked about was that once these restaurants go out into the real world and they're up and running, they had a wait list of people that wanted to work there, and they couldn't understand why at the beginning, because they were paying less than the other restaurants in the area, and people said it was because of the way they treated them, the culture of the restaurant, and the workplace. And they gave them opportunity to grow in the restaurant if they wanted to, and they had them share personal things. I remember I always remember this part, that they had a bulletin board in there that they would allow people to come in on Mondays or the days that they start the work week again, and showcase what they were about as a person. So I think that culture is a big
Really
thing.
cool. That's a wonderful example. I do remember that conversation in that room, and I'm thinking thoughtfully. I'm searching the skies for answers to tag onto that. But see, what it is they were really intentional about how they wanted to develop this part. So this is also what I'm saying. You can't just wing it. You have to have a plan. You're having a plan to make your business. Well, now you have to have a plan to, if you're going to have employees, this goes with it. We have choices. People bounce all the time.
Do you think it gets lost, this HR plan as a business grows, it gets lost in the chaos of running a business?
100%. I have private clients and I have SBDC clients, and I'm actually in conversation with a private client right now who grew from, and when I met them, they had 6 people. Now they have 60. Yeah, it's a wonderful arc. It's a wonderful arc, and I'm thinking about the business owner. Because the conversation a long time ago was, okay, you now have 12 people. I'm consulting you, but who's doing the HR? What is the plan for everybody? And so they've been white knuckling it as they have grown and bought other businesses and absorbed other employees. Some of it's bitten them on the tush, and it's not been pretty. But it's not because they did anything wrong, but it's because they were not really listening to the guidance on be really careful how you hire.
Yeah, and in regards to the HR, I think businesses or entrepreneurs in general have to be playing chess, right? You're thinking 3-4 moves ahead all the time in order to be able to cushion whatever is going to be chaotic and fall in your lap. But I think with HR, it gets even harder, because that, like you're saying, it can go from 6 to 60 in a year, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
How do I do this? And now that HR person becomes a stronger part of that team.
Absolutely. Oil in the engine, right? And the other component too is I know enough to hire somebody, and that's enough. And it's a generalized statement. The fear of what could happen prevents them from taking the next step. A lot of what I love to do is work with people who get in the HR role, even with the SBDC. If you're in that role, let's do some work together so you understand how to help your business grow. Another wonderful ally, I can't stress membership in any employer-based organization or nonprofit. For example, the California Employers Association, SHRM.org, which is Society of Human Resources Management. And then the top of my list is California Chamber of Commerce. They exist for us. Now, they're not going to replace your HR department, but they have all the tools, the bells and whistles for all the compliance. But then again, it's like you do need a person who loves this and gets this, and then wants to take it, help you go further.
Something just popped in my mind as you were saying that. Like, because of that human aspect component, is human resource career and position most likely never going to be replaced by AI and computers?
That is correct.
I just thought because I don't think you're ever going to be able to play or not be able to deal with both sides as a computer, right?
No, that's it. We can have pat answers for things, and I know there's been a lot of organizations that if this happens, what do we do? I mean, there's basic guidance, but I love the fact that we're hot, messy people. This is who we are. Working with all this technology only makes us better, right? But we have going back to something I was thinking about too, and I think it was a provocative question. What's something that a manager or a business owner what can they do to make it a good work life situation? And I really want employers to stop micromanaging their employees. Here are the rules, here are the tools. I hired you because you're qualified. Here's how we're going to do it, and providing them levels of authority to get stuff done. I love that. Get your hands off your people and allow them to be adults and work, and create an atmosphere where they're not afraid to ask questions. I have another resource that I absolutely love is Radical Candor, run by Kim Scott and her affiliates. And the level of training and understanding for management, please look into it. That's absolute freebie right there.
It's great information. And I was just curious about what your thoughts are for a 4-day work week.
Oh, I try to do that right now. It doesn't. It doesn't really
I'm
work.
on board.
I'm on board. Well, okay. So we have something in the books right now in California. It's called an alternative work week schedule, where you can have 4 10s or 3 12s. But this is something that the business actually has to work with legal resources and the state of California to say, our employees have put this to a vote, and they all agree to work this amount of time, and they understand that they will not earn any overtime because of working these shifts. But so it's like they work 3 days or 4 days, and boom, they're out. They're stoked. So those kinds of things are in play now, but really it depends on the kind of business that you have. I think administrative-esque industry can get away with it, but I'm not sure, is your local taqueria going to be able to do it? They're going to have a lot of scheduling challenges and making sure that, okay, well, do we have to close this day? Service industries, I think, are going to have the hardest time doing that.
I wonder if over time, and it could take like 50 years, 70 years, that all of us go to a 4-day work week. If let's say 90% of those businesses, and then the food and hospitality industry starts to follow in that. No one's really working on Mondays anymore, so we're going to open on Tuesdays.
Right. No, I don't want it to be as long as 50 or 70 years. No, let's do it tomorrow. I mean, the Europeans have been playing around with this for a very long time. A lot of U.S.-based businesses have been playing around with it for a very long time. It just requires creative scheduling and hiring the right people and just staffing in those spots. You can do it now, to have 3 days for yourself. It works wonderfully.
Everyone's happier.
Everyone's
Yeah,
happier. There's even a gentleman that decided to pay everybody above and beyond what they're even qualified for. So they all have a really high base salary, and they're very happy. Yeah.
Okay, well, if you could go back and tell your younger self before you got into the HR world something that you could prepare yourself for in your career, what would it be?
I was thinking about this, that you have to be okay with a solitary work life. And this is because of people's perception of who you are and what you are in the business is like, ooh, you're pro boss, or ooh, you're all for the employees. Well, it's being friendly without being devout friends to either side. Really, I'm trying to think of that movie About a Boy. And he's like, I'm bloody Ibiza. He's an island unto himself. I totally get that. So if somebody had told me that you're going to be with your own business acumen, with your own initiative more often than you realize, that would have surprised me. So you can collaborate, right? You can work with the other people, but when it comes to the task of HR, if you're an HR department of one, the responsibility falls on you to go learn as much as you possibly can. And this is where being a proactive, empowered person, that's the person you want to hire in HR. You cannot be a hang out and wait for direction person. No.
All right, well, that's great. And before we finish, I wanted to have this game with you.
Okay, we can do this.
This is going to be a fun game.
Okay.
We're going to call it appropriate or not appropriate. I'm going to read it to you. You have less than 5 seconds to just say appropriate or not appropriate. Okay? All right, we're going to start. Here we go. A boss calls his employee baby, but the employee is also his daughter.
Oh, wrong. Still, no, don't.
Okay. Next question. A company introduces a bring your pet to work day, but the CEO brings a goat and it eats someone's lunch.
Oh, they're buying someone lunch for the rest of the week, and they're finding a better place for the goat to go hang out because goats make messes all over the place. If you know anything about goats. Okay.
Okay, next one. A director shows up dressed as Santa, but also sits employees on their lap to discuss Q1 goals.
Oh, no. Come on. You're setting me up here.
Okay.
No way. Okay.
A manager kisses an employee on the cheek in the break room, but that employee is also his grandmother, too.
Oh, does everybody know that? Because it's like he's hitting on Nana? Like, what? I'm sorry. Not sorry. But because perception. Yes. If people don't know that. No, I legitimately, when I was working in healthcare, assisted living business, and I'm not going to say which one it is, I loved my time there. I did not know that at least 75% of skilled nursing was related. I had no idea. Okay. So I'm like, what is going on here? Everybody's like, all this intermingling and all the things. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's her mom, that's her sister, that's her cousin.
So the lesson is make sure perception is not what it shouldn't be.
Yeah, find out before you say anything. Poor Nana, your grandson giving her a kiss on the cheek. Okay.
We have 4 more. A CEO promotes their cousin to VP without interviews, but the company is a 3-person family business.
I'm really on the fence with that because it sets a precedence for cronyism in the future. So let's just be completely transparent. Let's practice doing it as if we're not related to that person at all. There's still a lot of business owners that just promote, because, and I actually was talking to a private client about this. I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me this woman got passed over for a promotion and they hired her peer and there was no process for the promotion. So how do we know she wasn't being discriminated against? And they're just like, oh, Sarah, stop. And I'm like, but seriously,
Yeah.
this is the stuff that gets
Yeah.
people in trouble.
Yeah.
So just practice as if you're not related.
Yeah. Lesson learned to be always professional. Okay. A boss calls an employee honey during a team meeting, but the boss is referring to the employee's beekeeping side hustle.
God. Am I growling in the microphone? I think I'm growling. Seriously, come on, people. It's funny. It's funny, not funny. It's 30, 40, 50 years ago. We would probably just laugh about it.
We should not anymore.
We just need to think before we say.
Yeah, it's always, I am amazed in 2025 how people are failing at HR things. Like the common things that you're supposed to just be, the sexual harassment, the name calling, the racism, it's just like, just don't open your mouth.
Just don't.
Just go to work. Just go to work.
Right. So what do we say about the Thanksgiving table? If people celebrate Thanksgiving, you don't talk about religion or politics.
Yeah.
Same thing at work.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, two more.
Okay.
A boss says you're hot to an employee, but they're talking about someone standing near a grill at a company barbecue.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. You're over there laughing it up. You're hot. Yes, I'm hot because I'm standing next to the grill. Sir.
You saying puns should just be taken out?
You're not punny.
Funny. Okay. Last one. A boss calls an employee on their personal cell after hours, but it's to say their paycheck doubled.
That really could have waited till the next day. Okay, by the way, everybody, we have Labor Code 2802. So let's make sure, I'm going to drop some knowledge here. Labor Code 2802 says if you require an employee to use their personal equipment to help you do your business, we're talking about cell phones, laptops, home internet, printers, even driving your car, we have to reimburse them a reasonable monthly stipend for this information. We also have, calling people after hours also triggers more money on their paycheck. So don't do it, bosses. Unless the business is burning down, don't call anybody. You can wait till the next day.
Yeah, lesson learned. Leave your employees alone. All right, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're
Where
welcome.
can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, through the SBDC. The main website that we're using is SDIVSBDC.org, and that stands for San Diego Imperial Valley Small Business Development Center. So happy to be part of a very big network here in San Diego. How many people do we reach each year?
I want to say
all of us collectively.
I want to say it was like, is it 11,000? Why do I have that number?
It's something like 11 or 12,000
Yeah.
different unique people, and then just the other year we were responsible for $500 million in growth for San Diego. So I love being part of a solution. I help people feel firm in their own feet to be able to do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on the podcast. This is Personal Side of Business.
Thank you so much. It was, again, another joy to be here. Thank you, Jet.
Thank you.